last but certainly not least, we're going to be talking about the stretch time and repitch time options available to us in Soundation. And these are easier to listen to than to try and explain. But as we go through this, I might explain it a little bit. So we'll take a look at two different examples. One is going to be using this vocal sample where keeping everything in tune with the rest of our track isn't super important. And up until now, we have been working in C. We also have this pad that's in F, which is a fourth up from C, which is why the whole thing should work. But as we go forward, we might do some other things to tie this all together harmonically. Right now, don't worry about that music theory at all. If you're going through and pulling out loops, just grab everything that has the same letter at the end. Just use everything that's in C or use everything that's in F, and you won't have any problems. But let's talk about our stretch and our pitch. I'm going to start by going back to the selector here by clicking 1, and I'm going to option click and drag this down to a new audio track here, and I'll just pull this out so that we have the full clip like so, and we can listen back to it. We know what it sounds like.
He's ready for the next step, and he can do it.
So if I choose the stretch option here, what Soundation is going to try to do is maintain these pitches. So the voice that we're hearing, it's going to try to keep the pitch the same, but can either increase or decrease time. So if we want to speed this up, I can again select the stretch option here, and I can kind of pull this clip down like so. And notice that now when I'm clicking and pulling this down, we're not losing any of the information. The waveform isn't being cut off. So if I go and play this back, all right, that actually sounds pretty good. You don't hear too many artifacts. If we go and start to pull this out really long, we might hear a few more artifacts here.
He's ready for the next step, and he can do it.
So that's like a classic vocoder kind of sound, and that's just using the stretch algorithm there. All right, let's go ahead and undo those moves, and hopefully we should be back to the original now.
He's ready for the next step, and he can do it.
And we can take a look at the repitch time option. So this is going to have a slightly different effect. When we pull this out, it's going to be like a record player, okay? And if I stretch this out longer, it's going to play it back lower. Or if I pull it in, it's going to play it higher. So the chipmunk effect. Okay, really easy to pull this off inside of Soundation, and you can use this in very creative or maybe practical ways. So let's take a look at another example. Let's start to add in some kind of bass line here, and I've already picked something that I want to use. And we can see that if I preview this now, all right, this is in C, and this should actually really kind of hammer home the point that this track we're working on is in C major. The bass line is pretty important for harmony. And I'll just go ahead and I'm going to drag this and I'm going to drop it into audio channel 9. And you'll see that we have 3 choices. Wrong tempo. This is coming in at 110 and our session is at 125. So I have 3 choices. If I click no, it will bring this in raw. If I click repitch, it's going to use that repitching time algorithm. Or if I click time stretch, it will use the time stretch algorithm. So I'll choose all 3 here. I'll click no for the first time. This time I'll choose pitch. And notice how now it cut it down so that it fits here over 4 bars. And this last time I'm going to click time stretch. Now, if we think about this, what's going to be the wisest to use if we want to keep this in tune with the rest of our track? We're going to want to use time stretch. Okay, so let's listen to all 3 of these guys back to back in the context of the track and hear what we actually think sounds the best. Here is the raw file.
He's ready for the next step. Next step.
Okay, that doesn't sound very good, mainly because the timing is so poor, but also, well, yeah, mainly because the timing is so poor. Now let's take a listen to the one that's been repitched. Put this out as solo.
He's ready for the next step.
Okay, that's all right, but I can hear that it is clashing a little bit with this pad and also with the synth stabs here. So let's try the last option here, and this is the time stretch version. And let's just put this on.
He's ready for the next step. Next step. Next step. Step. We can do it.
So in theory, that should be actually the wisest choice for us because this hasn't repitched the actual sound coming in. It's keeping everything in C, and it's also playing back at the right time. So when we get to the end here, it starts over, which is exactly what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and use that audio channel here. We'll call this baseline. And now we can actually do something a little bit more experimental. What I'm going to do is kind of use both the restretch and the repitch in this one audio track. So we know that right now this has been stretched. All right, it's been stretched. It's keeping everything in the same pitch. It's keeping this in C, and it's also playing back in time with the rest of our loop. But what if I choose repitch and I try to double out the length here? So I'm taking it from 4 bars and turning it into 8 bars. Now, in theory, if I choose repitch and I double the length like that, what we should be doing is actually just taking this down an octave. So we're going from whatever C this is playing back at now, maybe like C2, and bringing it down to C1. So let's take a listen and see if that's worked.
He's ready for the next step. Next step. Next step. Step. We can do it.
All right, so I like that. It gives a nice little tone there at the bottom.